Have you ever felt like life was pulling you in every direction, and no matter what you did, the weight of responsibility never seemed to ease? Maybe you've faced struggles that made you question if you'd ever find peace. When I was growing up, my mother raised us on her own, working 2 jobs just to keep a roof over our heads. By 7th grade, I was running errands on a farm alongside grown men to help support the family. As the eldest, I had no choice but to become the man of the house, caring for my 2-year-old brother. My childhood slipped away before I even realized it. It made me tougher than my classmates, sure, but stronger, wiser. At the time, I was just a boy carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, quietly suffering, trying to figure out where I went wrong. Years later, I learned something that changed everything. My suffering wasn't the problem, it was how I reacted to it. This is why Stoic philosophy has become such a powerful guide in my life. It's not about escaping challenges, but about mastering how we respond to them. In this video, I'll share 20 Stoic lessons that have transformed my life and will help you take control of yours. If you're ready to embrace resilience, purpose, and calm no matter what life throws your way, stay tuned. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official, your source for timeless wisdom and practical insights. 1. Master your mind, not your circumstances. Life often feels like a storm we can't control. Unexpected events, difficult people, and relentless challenges that test us to our core. It's easy to feel powerless in the face of these forces. But what if I told you that true power comes not from controlling the storm, but from controlling how you face it? This is the Stoic principle of the dichotomy of control. Focus on what you can control and accept what you cannot. When I was a boy, my life was anything but easy. The absence of a father loomed over everything. As a 7th grader, I was working on a farm and taking care of my little brother, responsibilities that left no room for childhood. At the time, I believed that my suffering was caused entirely by circumstances outside of my control. I blamed my unhappiness on my father's absence and the weight of responsibilities I never chose. I worked hard, took action, and did everything I could to help my family. But deep inside, I still felt miserable. Why? Because I was focused on what I didn't have and what was missing. Blaming my circumstances didn't solve the problem, it only deepened my pain. It wasn't until years later that I understood this key lesson. My suffering wasn't caused by external events. It was caused by my reaction to them. The Stoics remind us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This realization changed everything for me. Instead of focusing on the things I couldn't control, my father's absence, my family's financial struggles, I began focusing on what I could, my actions, my attitude, and my ability to move forward. This principle applies to all of us. When life feels overwhelming, ask yourself, what can I control in this situation? Maybe you're stuck in a toxic work environment. You can't always change your boss or coworkers, but you can improve your skills, explore other opportunities, and set boundaries. Perhaps a relationship has ended. You can't force someone to stay, but you can choose to heal, grow, and move forward. Blaming external circumstances only makes the storm feel stronger. But when you master your mind, the chaos outside starts to lose its grip on you. Focus your energy where it matters, on your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. That is where your true power lies. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable and instead take charge of yourself, you'll discover something incredible. Peace. The world may remain chaotic, but within you, there will be strength, clarity, and freedom. Master your mind, and no storm can shake you. 2. The stories you tell yourself matter. The way we interpret our experiences shapes how we live. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we've endured, and why life has unfolded the way it has are powerful. They can either build us up or tear us down, guiding us toward resilience or trapping us in self-doubt. The Stoics understood this deeply. It's not what happens to us, but how we perceive it that defines our reality. In my case, the story I told myself was one of loss and obligation. I believed that I was a child forced to grow up too fast, burdened by family responsibilities and the absence of a father. This narrative dominated my life. On one hand, it fueled my drive to work harder, to prove my worth, and to rise above my circumstances. On the other hand, it became a source of bitterness. I believed I had been robbed of a normal childhood, and that belief kept me stuck in resentment and self-pity for years. This is the paradox of our narratives. They can inspire us to persevere, but they can also hold us back. The story I clung to explained my struggles, but it also limited me. It wasn't until I began to question that narrative that I realized how much power it had over my emotions, decisions, and sense of self. For those who faced hardships, I ask you this: what story are you telling yourself? Are you painting yourself as the victim of circumstances, or are you the hero of your journey? The Stoics teach us that while we can't control external events, we can always choose how we interpret them, and that choice is everything. Imagine rewriting your story. Instead of thinking, "Why did this happen to me?" shift to, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of focusing on what you've lost, focus on what you've gained. My struggles didn't just take something away from me. They also gave me strength, discipline, and compassion. They taught me how to face life's challenges with courage and resolve. If you've convinced yourself that you're not good enough because of a failure, replace that narrative with one of perseverance. I've survived hardships and I'm still here. That's proof of my resilience. If you've defined yourself by setbacks, reframe them as stepping stones toward growth. The stories we tell ourselves matter because they shape our reality. So don't let a false narrative limit you. Choose to see yourself not as a victim of life, but as its author. Rewrite your story to reflect the strength, wisdom, and potential that have always been within you. Your greatest transformation begins with the narrative you choose. 3. Other people's opinions are just noise. Have you ever found yourself making decisions based on what others might think? It's easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation from those around us. But the truth is, the opinions of others often create more noise than clarity, steering us away from our true path. Looking back on my early experiences, I can see how they shaped my sensitivity to the opinions of others. Growing up in a situation where I had to carry immense responsibilities, I found myself craving reassurance. I wanted to hear that I was doing enough, that I was strong, and that I was worthy. Without realizing it, I began to rely on external validation to feel secure. This need for approval planted the seeds for insecurity. When the opinions were positive, I felt confident. But when criticism came, or when I didn't receive acknowledgement, doubt crept in. This is the danger of allowing external noise to dictate our sense of self. It puts our worth in the hands of others. For many of us, this pattern repeats in adulthood. We hesitate to pursue our dreams because we're afraid of being judged. We stay in situations that no longer serve us because we fear what others will say if we leave. This constant pursuit of external approval robs us of our inner peace and self-confidence. But here's the truth. Other people's opinions are just that, opinions. They are shaped by their perspectives, insecurities, and biases. They are not facts, and they certainly do not define you. The Stoics remind us that the only opinion that truly matters is your own, as long as it aligns with your values and principles. If you're struggling with this, here's how to take back control. First, pause and ask yourself, am I making this decision because it's right for me, or because I want someone else's approval? Be honest. Recognizing this distinction is the first step toward freedom. Next, practice self-validation. Instead of waiting for others to tell you that you're doing well, remind yourself. Reflect on your accomplishments, no matter how small, and let them build your confidence. Finally, accept that not everyone will understand your choices, and that's okay. What matters is that you understand them and that they align with your goals and values. When you trust your judgment, the noise fades and clarity emerges. Remember, your worth isn't tied to the applause of others. It's found in your actions, your intentions, and your character. Quiet the noise and listen to the voice that truly matters, your own. 4. Wisdom starts with knowing your blind spots. Sometimes the biggest obstacle to growth is the one we can't see, our blind spots. These hidden parts of ourselves, shaped by unexamined emotions, past experiences, or unfulfilled desires, influence our actions and decisions in ways we don't always recognize. The Stoics teach us that self-awareness is the foundation of wisdom. Without it, we risk being led by assumptions, fears, or misplaced intentions, repeating the very patterns we wish to escape. Reflecting on my journey, I see how my past created a significant blind spot. Growing up without a father left a gap in my life, and I carried that wound into adulthood. When I became a father, I made a promise to myself. I would be everything for my kids that I believed my father wasn't for me. I thought that being constantly present, providing for their every need, and sacrificing for them would fill the void I had felt as a child. But over time, I realized something important. Many of my actions weren't really about my children. They were about trying to fix something within myself. I wasn't just parenting, I was compensating. I wasn't just loving them for who they were, I was using fatherhood as a way to rewrite my past. This blind spot was subtle, but powerful. I failed to see that my need to make up for my childhood could cloud my ability to parent from a place of unconditional love. This isn't unique to parenting. Blind spots show up in all areas of life. We might think we're helping someone because we care, but in reality, we might be trying to ease our guilt or gain approval. We might think we're working tirelessly for success, but what we're truly chasing is validation we never received. These unseen motivations can lead to unintended harm, not only to ourselves, but also to the people we care about most. So how do you start recognizing your blind spots? First, pause and reflect honestly on your actions and motivations. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it truly for the other person, or is it to resolve something in me? This isn't easy, but honesty with yourself is the first step to growth. Second, be open to feedback. The people around you may notice patterns you can't see. Listen carefully, even if it's uncomfortable. Their perspective can reveal truths that you've overlooked. Finally, let go of judgment and embrace growth. When you uncover a blind spot, don't waste time feeling guilty or ashamed. Use it as a chance to grow and realign your actions with your values. The Stoics remind us that wisdom begins with knowing ourselves. Self-awareness is the lens through which we gain clarity and peace. When you uncover your blind spots, you free yourself from the past and create space for a wiser, more intentional future. True wisdom lies not in perfection, but in the courage to see ourselves. 5. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Have you ever felt like you're not enough because you don't meet someone else's definition of success? Society loves to measure us against standards that often feel impossible to achieve. Wealth, career titles, social status. The Stoics teach us an essential truth. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. When we take the time to question these so-called truths, we can free ourselves from their hold and focus on what truly matters. Years ago, I had a stable job for more than 5 years. By most measures, I was doing well. Yet, I couldn't shake the pressure to do more, earn more, and prove my worth. Society often evaluates men based on their ability to achieve financial success, climb the career ladder, and own material assets. These expectations seep into our minds, making us feel inadequate when we don't meet them. I remember feeling disappointed and self-conscious. I believed I wasn't enough because I hadn't achieved what others deemed success. But over time, I started to question this narrative. Who decided that success was only about money or status? Why should I feel unworthy because I didn't fit into this narrow definition? These thoughts led me to a realization that changed my perspective. Success doesn't have one definition. For me, success could mean many things: a stable career, a happy family, contributing to my community, or simply living a meaningful life aligned with my values. By stepping back and examining the opinions I had accepted as facts, I found freedom. I stopped chasing someone else's version of success and started living my own. This shift isn't easy. It requires us to detach from the noise around us, to recognize that the world is filled with opinions dressed up as truths. If you felt weighed down by these expectations, here's how to begin breaking free. First, recognize that society's standards are just opinions. Whether it's the belief that you need a specific salary, a luxury car, or a prestigious title, these are perspectives, not universal truths. They only have power over you if you accept them. Second, take time to define what success means to you. Ask yourself, what truly matters? Is it being a present parent? Have time to pursue your passions? Making a difference in your community? Your definition of success should reflect your values, not someone else's. Finally, embrace the Stoic practice of detachment. Let go of the need for external validation. Whether others praise or criticize you, remember that their opinions don't define your worth. The only opinion that matters is the one aligned with your purpose and principles. When you stop chasing society's version of success, you gain clarity and peace. The truth is that success isn't a rigid standard. It's a life lived with intention, authenticity, and purpose. Question the noise, trust yourself, and you'll find that the only person who can define your success is you. 6. Time is your most valuable resource. Time is the one resource we can never reclaim. Money, possessions, and even relationships can be regained or rebuilt, but once a moment passes, it is gone forever. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that how we spend our time shapes the quality of our lives. Yet many of us live as though time is infinite, wasting it on trivial pursuits, procrastinating on what matters most, or allowing distractions to steal our focus. Think about your daily habits. How often do you find yourself mindlessly scrolling through your phone, engaging in unproductive conversations, or simply waiting for the right time to begin something meaningful? These small, seemingly harmless moments add up, creating days, months, or even years of lost potential. The Stoics taught that time is not just precious, it's sacred. To squander it is to rob ourselves of the lives we could have lived. Imagine someone who spends their life waiting for retirement to travel, waiting for enough money to pursue a passion, or waiting for perfect conditions to reconnect with loved ones. They keep postponing what truly matters, thinking there will always be more time. But life doesn't operate on our schedule. By the time the opportunity comes, circumstances may have changed. Health, energy, or obligations may render those plans impossible. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, warned against this mindset when he wrote, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." This wisdom forces us to reflect. Are we truly spending our time with purpose, or are we letting it slip away unnoticed? To use this irreplaceable resource wisely, we must first clarify our priorities. What are the things that bring you joy, fulfillment, and meaning? Perhaps it's nurturing relationships with loved ones, pursuing a long-held dream, or contributing to your community. Whatever these priorities are, they deserve your focused attention. Guard this time as fiercely as you would guard your most valuable possession. One practical step is to analyze your daily routines. Look closely at how you spend your mornings, your work hours, and your evenings. Are these activities contributing to your goals, or are they filled with distractions? This doesn't mean eliminating rest or fun. It means ensuring that even your downtime serves your greater purpose. Another critical lesson is to stop waiting for the right time. Whether it's learning a new skill, mending a strained relationship, or simply carving out space for your well-being, the perfect moment will never arrive. The Stoics remind us that the present is the only time we truly have. Acting now, even imperfectly, is always better than endlessly postponing action. By treating time as your most valuable resource, you'll discover that every moment holds potential. It becomes an opportunity to grow, connect, and contribute. When you live with this awareness, you honor life's fleeting nature while building a legacy of purpose and meaning. Time is precious. Use it wisely. 7. Each day is a mini-life. Life often feels like it's rushing past us, with one day blurring into the next. We fall into the trap of thinking that fulfillment lies in some distant future, when we have more time, more money, or fewer responsibilities. The Stoics challenge this mindset, teaching us that each day is a complete life in itself. Every moment we live holds the potential for meaning, joy, and growth. This idea might sound simple, but it's revolutionary when you truly embrace it. Most people spend their days waiting for something, weekends, promotions, vacations, or even retirement, thinking that happiness exists somewhere beyond today. But what if the secret to a meaningful life isn't waiting, but living fully in the present? I learned this lesson both from my own experience and from observing a close friend. I realized, not too late but not early enough, the profound value of spending time with my wife, children, and relatives. While I wasn't perfect, I learned to appreciate the small, fleeting moments, laughing with my kids, sharing stories at the dinner table, or simply sitting in silence with loved ones. But I also saw a stark contrast in my friend. He was one of the most successful men I knew, building a career that most people would envy. But his ambition came at a cost. He spent his life chasing professional achievements, neglecting family, friends, and even his health. For decades, he told himself he'd reconnect later, after reaching the next milestone. Later never came. By the time he retired, he realized he was alone. His children had grown up distant, his friends had moved on, and his health had declined. While he had everything materially, he was filled with regret. He confided in me once, saying, "I would trade all this success for just one more dinner with my family." This is a lesson we can't afford to ignore. Life isn't waiting for some perfect moment in the future. It's happening right now. Every single day is a chance to live fully, to connect, to laugh, to love, and to find purpose. So how do we live each day as a mini-life? First, slow down. Take time to notice the beauty in the ordinary. A sunrise, the sound of laughter, the satisfaction of a job well done. Don't rush through life thinking the best moments are ahead. They're often right in front of you. Second, prioritize relationships. No achievement will ever replace the joy of being with the people who matter most. Make time for family, nurture friendships, and be present in those moments. Finally, stop postponing happiness. Don't wait for the weekend, the vacation, or the promotion to enjoy your life. Find joy in small, daily rituals. Live today as if it's the only day that matters, because in many ways, it is. When we treat each day as a complete life, we unlock the true meaning of living. Don't wait for tomorrow. Live fully, right now. 8. Action is the antidote to overthinking. Overthinking is a trap we all fall into. We want everything to be perfect before we start, or we imagine all the ways things could go wrong before they've even begun. The result? We get stuck. The Stoics teach us a powerful truth. Action dispels fear. By taking small, deliberate steps forward, we can break free from the paralysis of overthinking and create momentum toward success. One of the reasons overthinking feels so overwhelming is because it magnifies uncertainty. Instead of focusing on what we can do right now, we let our minds wander into a maze of what-ifs. What if we fail? What if people judge us? What if it doesn't work out? These questions hold us back, not because the challenges are insurmountable, but because we convince ourselves they are. I once mentored a young employee who was full of potential but paralyzed by self-doubt. He was talented, creative, and hardworking, but his anxiety stopped him from pursuing bigger opportunities. Whenever a new project came up, he'd overanalyze every aspect of it, fearing he wasn't ready. He spent so much time worrying about failing that he never gave himself the chance to succeed. One day, I pulled him aside and shared a simple piece of advice. Don't think about completing the whole project. Just focus on the first small step. I told him to start with one action, researching an idea, making an outline, or asking a single question. Small steps, I explained, create momentum, and momentum creates clarity. He took my advice, and something amazing happened. As he started taking small actions, his confidence grew. The fear that had paralyzed him began to fade, replaced by a sense of progress. Over time, he stopped overthinking and started trusting himself. That small shift in approach transformed his career. If you've ever felt trapped by overthinking, you're not alone. But the way out isn't as complicated as it seems. Start by identifying one small action you can take today. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to solve everything. It just has to be something. The Stoics remind us that fear is often rooted in inaction. When we're standing still, the unknown feels enormous. But when we move, even just a little, the unknown begins to shrink. Action brings clarity, and clarity brings confidence. Next time you find yourself overthinking, remember this: you don't need to know the whole plan to start. Break it down into small, manageable steps. Focus on progress, not perfection. Action is the antidote to overthinking. It's how you transform anxiety into purpose and fear into momentum. You'll never have all the answers before you begin, but you don't need them. Trust that each step will reveal the next, and before you know it, you'll have made more progress than you ever thought possible. The key is simple: start now and let action guide the way. 9. Preparation plus opportunity equals luck. Luck is a word people often use to explain someone else's success. It's an easy way to dismiss the effort behind the achievement. The Stoics, however, saw luck differently. They believed that while life throws opportunities our way, success only comes to those who are prepared. Luck isn't a random blessing, it's the moment when preparation meets opportunity. I used to believe that one of my colleagues had everything handed to him. He was always in the right place at the right time, landing the best projects and gaining recognition effortlessly. From the outside, his success looked like pure luck. I'd tell myself, if I had his opportunities, I'd be just as successful. But as I spent more time with him, I started to notice things. He wasn't lucky. He was disciplined. While most of us would leave the office at 5, he stayed late, researching upcoming projects and building his skills. On weekends, when others relaxed, he invested time in nurturing client relationships. He treated every task, no matter how small, as preparation for something bigger. When opportunities came his way, he was ready. He didn't hesitate or fumble because he'd already done the work behind the scenes. Watching him taught me an important lesson. Luck favors the prepared. His success wasn't about chance, it was about effort, persistence, and foresight. This realization shifted my perspective. Instead of waiting for the right opportunity or blaming bad luck for missed chances, I started asking myself, am I ready for the opportunities I want? It wasn't an easy question to face. I had spent too much time reacting to life and not enough time preparing for the future. When you think about your own life, consider how much of your success depends on preparation. Those who seem lucky are often the ones who have quietly prepared themselves over time. They've honed their skills, deepened their knowledge, and built strong networks, so when an opportunity presents itself, they are ready to act. Preparation isn't always glamorous, but it's essential. Imagine someone who dreams of a promotion, yet doesn't put in the effort to improve their skills. When the role opens up, they feel overlooked, blaming luck rather than their lack of readiness. Contrast that with someone who has spent years growing, learning, and preparing. They step into the role seamlessly, and others call them lucky. The Stoics remind us that we can't control when opportunities will appear, but we can control how prepared we are to embrace them. Life will always throw challenges and chances your way. The question is, will you be ready? What seems like luck to others is simply the result of steady effort and persistence. When you approach life with this mindset, you'll find that luck isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create. 10. Anger hurts you more than them. Anger feels powerful at the moment, like fuel that drives you forward, but it's deceptive. The Stoics saw anger for what it is, a destructive force that clouds judgment, disrupts peace, and leaves you more damaged than the person it's directed at. When anger takes control, it rarely solves problems. Instead, it amplifies them, creating pain and regret that last far longer than the initial conflict. My cousin is in the middle of a contentious divorce. The betrayal he feels runs deep, and his anger governs nearly every decision he makes. He lashes out, says things meant to wound, and focuses all his energy on proving the other party wrong. Every conversation and legal proceeding becomes a battlefield where anger, not reason, leads the charge. But the cost is heavy. His children are caught in the crossfire, witnessing arguments that leave emotional scars. Instead of creating stability for them during this difficult time, his actions are adding to their pain. Watching this unfold has been heartbreaking because it's clear his anger isn't punishing anyone more than it's punishing himself. The divorce process has dragged on, leaving him exhausted and further from peace than when it began. Anger has a way of convincing us that it's productive, that it will bring resolution or justice. But the reality is that anger feeds chaos. It doesn't help us reach our goals. It blinds us to what matters. My cousin's real goal should be to ensure his children feel secure and loved. But anger has shifted his focus to revenge, a pursuit that only deepens the wounds on all sides. The Stoics teach us that anger is a choice, not an inevitability. While it's natural to feel anger when we're wrong, how we act on it determines whether we find peace or prolong our suffering. Instead of reacting impulsively, they encourage us to pause and ask, what outcome do I truly want? When you focus on what matters, your family, your health, your future, you realize that anger often works against these goals. It consumes time, energy, and emotional strength that could be better spent on rebuilding, healing, or simply moving forward. Letting go of anger isn't about excusing others' actions. It's about freeing yourself from their control. My cousin's story is a powerful reminder of this lesson. While he's consumed by resentment, the healing he seeks remains out of reach. If he could shift his perspective, focusing on his children and his own well-being instead of his pain, he might find the peace he desperately needs. The Stoics believed that true strength lies not in reacting, but in remaining calm. Anger may feel like power, but real power comes from self-control. When you let go of anger, you take back your peace and clarity, creating space for healing and growth. Remember, it's not the offense, but your response that defines who you are. Choose wisely. 11. Your reaction defines you, not the problem. Life often presents challenges we can't control. Betrayal, loss, injustice. While the situations themselves can feel overwhelming, the Stoics remind us that it's not the problems but our reactions to them that truly define us. What happens to us is external, how we respond is internal, and it is in that response that our strength, character, and peace of mind are forged. Reflecting on my cousin's divorce, it wasn't just the betrayal or the conflict that caused so much harm, it was his reaction to it. His anger turned into a relentless focus on winning, on proving the other party wrong at every turn. This reaction, however, justified it felt, prolonged his suffering, and dragged him further away from what mattered: his children's well-being and his peace. The problem wasn't unique. We all face moments where we feel wronged or hurt, and the instinct is to react emotionally. But when emotions like anger or bitterness take control, they often push us to act in ways that betray our values. My cousin's situation is a stark reminder of this. In trying to punish the other party, he inadvertently punished himself. He became someone who couldn't move forward because he was so fixated on the past. The Stoics believe that while we can't control what happens, we always have the power to choose our reaction. They saw adversity as a test, a chance to show resilience, clarity, and grace under pressure. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Every obstacle is an opportunity to grow, but only if we respond wisely. Imagine if my cousin had paused to reflect on his true priorities. If, instead of reacting with anger, he had chosen calm and focused on solutions. The process would still have been difficult, but his energy could have been spent building stability for his children rather than fueling conflict. His peace would have come sooner, and his relationships could have healed faster. For anyone facing a situation that feels overwhelming, consider this. What are you truly trying to achieve? Does your current reaction bring you closer to that goal or push you further away? Often, taking a moment to reflect allows us to respond with intention rather than impulse. When emotions threaten to take over, shift your focus inward. Breathe deeply, center yourself, and ask, what's the wisest response I can give right now? Instead of fueling the fire, choose to be the calm amidst the storm. Your reaction defines you, not the problem. Strength isn't about overpowering others or proving them wrong. It's about maintaining your values and inner peace, no matter the circumstances. When you master your response, you turn every challenge into an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Let your reaction reflect who you truly want to be. 12. Don't suffer twice. The Stoics believe that much of our suffering is self-inflicted, not by the events themselves, but by the way we anticipate or dwell on them. They taught us that worry, fear, and resentment often make us suffer more than the challenges we face. This idea is captured in their wisdom. He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary. Looking back at my cousin's struggle during his divorce, it wasn't just the anger that consumed him, it was the anticipation of every possible outcome. He obsessed over the what-ifs. What if he lost custody of his children? What if the settlement wasn't fair? What if he ended up completely alone? These fears magnified his pain, and he endured countless sleepless nights worrying about things that hadn't even happened. This cycle of anticipation made every step of the process harder. When his fears didn't come true, he'd wasted energy suffering over nothing. And when things did go wrong, his reaction was amplified by the exhaustion of worrying about them beforehand. In trying to prepare for every possible disaster, he made himself live through the pain twice, once in his mind and again in reality. This is a trap we all fall into. We imagine worst-case scenarios, replay arguments in our heads, or carry resentment long after the moment has passed. But the Stoics remind us that this only deepens our suffering. They encourage us to stay present and focus on what we can control. Worrying about the future or holding on to the past robs us of the peace we could have in the present. Imagine if my cousin had approached his situation differently. Instead of dwelling on fears about custody or the settlement, he could have focused on actions he could take today, showing up for his children, building a case with his lawyer, or finding time to care for his mental health. By staying grounded in the present, he could have reduced his suffering and conserved his energy for the challenges he needed to face. For anyone struggling with anxiety or resentment, the Stoics offer a practical path forward. First, recognize when you're anticipating pain that hasn't happened yet. Ask yourself, is this worry helping me solve a problem, or is it just draining my energy? Shift your focus to actions you can take now, rather than the unknowns of the future. Next, when something painful happens, remind yourself not to relive it unnecessarily. The event itself might hurt, but dwelling on it won't change it. Instead, focus on what you can learn and how you can move forward. The lesson is simple but profound. Don't let your mind make you suffer more than life demands. Challenges will come, but worrying about them or clinging to resentment only multiplies the pain. Let go of unnecessary suffering, and you'll find a sense of peace, clarity, and strength that nothing can take away. 13. Embrace the obstacle. It's the path. Life's challenges often feel like barriers, preventing us from moving forward. We see obstacles as interruptions to our plans, and our instinct is to avoid them, fight against them, or resent them. But the Stoics believe that these very obstacles are not barriers to progress. They are the path to progress. Every difficulty holds a lesson, a chance to grow stronger and wiser if we're willing to face it head-on. Reflecting on my cousin's story during his divorce, it's clear that the situation itself wasn't just a source of pain. It was also a profound opportunity. He could have chosen to see the obstacle as a moment to redefine his priorities, to focus on his children, and to build a better future for himself. Instead, his anger and resentment blinded him to the lessons the situation offered. Rather than embracing the challenge, he let it control him, making his journey harder than it needed to be. The Stoics teach us that obstacles are inevitable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." It's not the challenge itself that determines your future. It's how you respond to it. By resisting the difficulty, my cousin made it bigger than it was. But if he had embraced it, he could have found purpose and strength in overcoming it. Think of the obstacles you face in your own life. Perhaps it's a setback in your career, a conflict in a relationship, or a personal struggle with self-doubt. At first, it might feel overwhelming, like something unfair that's holding you back. But what if, instead of resisting it, you chose to accept it as a necessary step in your growth? What if you approached it with curiosity, asking, "What can this teach me? How can I use this to become stronger?" The beauty of this mindset is that it transforms challenges into opportunities. For my cousin, the divorce could have been a turning point, a chance to focus on being a better father, to let go of resentment, and to rebuild his life with purpose. The obstacle didn't have to define him negatively. It could have been the very thing that made him stronger. When faced with your difficulties, start by shifting your perspective. Instead of asking why something is happening to you, ask how it can help you grow. Challenges often reveal hidden strengths and force us to adapt, becoming more resilient in the process. Remember, the obstacle isn't the end of the road. It's a bridge to a stronger version of yourself. By embracing it, you stop fighting against life and start working with it. This is how the Stoics found peace and strength in the face of adversity, and it's how you can too. Every challenge you face is shaping you, building you into the person you're meant to be. Trust the process and embrace the obstacle as the path forward. 14. Seek approval from within, not without. Many of us live as though our worth depends on others' opinions. We strive to meet expectations, impress peers, and gain validation from external sources. But the Stoics understood that true confidence and peace come from within. Seeking approval from others makes us dependent on their changing moods and judgments, while building self-respect rooted in our values sets us free. Reflecting on the story of the young employee I mentored, his overthinking wasn't just about fear of failure. It was tied to a need for external validation. Every step he took at work seemed to hinge on whether it would impress his managers or earn praise from colleagues. His self-doubt grew when he didn't receive immediate recognition, making it harder for him to move forward. His confidence depended entirely on how others saw him, leaving him vulnerable to even the smallest criticism. This cycle isn't unique to him. Many of us base our self-worth on what others think. Whether it's a boss, a partner, or society at large, we allow their opinions to dictate our actions and even our sense of identity. But here's the truth. When you chase external approval, you lose control of your happiness. You give others the power to define your worth. And no matter how much validation you receive, it's never enough to fill the void. The Stoics believed that the only opinion that matters is the one you hold of yourself, as long as it aligns with your principles. If you've acted with integrity, done your best, and stayed true to your values, then you've already succeeded, whether others recognize it or not. Imagine if the young employee had shifted his focus inward. Instead of constantly worrying about whether his work would impress others, he could have asked himself, "Am I proud of the effort I've put in? Am I growing and learning?" By seeking approval from within, he could have freed himself from the fear of judgment and found confidence in his progress. The lesson here is clear. When you stop chasing external validation, you reclaim your sense of self. This doesn't mean you should ignore feedback or relationships, but it does mean that your core identity shouldn't depend on them. If you're struggling with this, start by reflecting on your values. Define what success means to you, not society, not your peers, but you. When you measure yourself against your principles rather than others' opinions, you'll find a steadier, more fulfilling confidence. Approval from others is fleeting, but self-respect lasts a lifetime. Build it by living according to your values and let your actions speak for themselves. When you seek approval from within, you'll find that the freedom and peace you've been searching for have been in your hands all along. 15. Kindness is not weakness. In a world that often rewards ruthlessness and ambition, kindness is sometimes seen as a weakness. The Stoics, however, believe the opposite. Kindness is a reflection of true strength. It requires resilience, courage, and self-awareness to choose goodness in a world filled with challenges and injustices. Kindness is not about naivety. It's about being strong enough to act with compassion even when life tempts us to be bitter or selfish. My younger brother is a testament to this idea. He grew up in the same difficult circumstances as I did, witnessing the hardships my mother endured as a single parent and feeling the emotional and material disadvantages that came with it. Yet, despite everything, he grew up to be a kind, empathetic person. He became the manager of a pastry shop and devoted his free time to working for a community organization that helped struggling families. What's remarkable about him is how he chose his path. It would have been easy for him to let the weight of our past turn him into someone cold or resentful. But he didn't let the hardships define him negatively. Instead, he transformed his pain into a desire to make life better for others. Kindness became his strength, not because he lacked the power to act differently, but because he understood that compassion is what truly makes us human. The lesson here is profound. Life will test you. It will give you reasons to be angry, bitter, or selfish. But how you respond to these moments defines who you are. Choosing kindness doesn't mean ignoring the challenges or injustices you face. It means rising above them, acting with integrity, and focusing on what you can give instead of what you can take. Kindness is not about letting others walk over you. It's about creating a positive impact without compromising your self-respect. The Stoics remind us that even in the face of adversity, we have the power to choose our response. They believed that being kind in a harsh world is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to your inner strength. If you've been hurt or faced challenges that make kindness feel impossible, start small. Treat kindness as a habit, just like any other practice. Show compassion to someone who might need it, a family member, a colleague, or even a stranger. Remember that kindness doesn't just help others, it nurtures your own sense of purpose and peace. My brother's life taught me this. You don't have to let pain or adversity harden you. Kindness is not about ignoring your struggles, but using them to fuel your ability to connect and uplift. When you choose kindness, you're not being weak. You're showing the world that strength lies in lifting others, even when life tries to drag you down. 16. We're all connected. The Stoics believe that humanity is deeply interconnected. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of recognizing that we are all part of a greater whole, bound by shared struggles, emotions, and experiences. Choosing kindness and compassion isn't just about personal virtue. It's about understanding the web of connections that ties us together. When we harm others, we harm ourselves. And when we uplift others, we create a ripple effect that benefits everyone. Reflecting on my brother's story, his kindness didn't just benefit the people he helped. It created a chain reaction. At the community organization he worked with, families in need found hope and support. The children in those families gained a chance at a better future. At the bakery he managed, his employees looked up to him, not just as a boss, but as someone who genuinely cared. His small acts of kindness became seeds, growing into something much bigger than himself. This is the power of connection. When we choose to treat others with compassion, we strengthen the bonds that hold our communities together. My brother's choice to be kind, despite his hardships, didn't just change his own life. It positively impacted the lives of everyone around him. That's the beauty of recognizing that we're all connected. But the opposite is also true. When we act with anger, selfishness, or indifference, the harm we cause ripples outward. In his darkest moments, my brother could have chosen to lash out, blame others, or retreat into resentment. If he had, the effects would have been just as far-reaching, but in a negative way. The Stoics teach us to think beyond ourselves. Every action we take influences the people around us, and those effects can ripple out to touch lives we may never even see. By understanding this interconnectedness, we can approach life with greater care and intentionality. If you're ever faced with a choice to help or to harm, to connect or to retreat, think about the broader impact of your actions. Consider how your kindness or your anger might affect not just the immediate situation, but the people who come into contact with it. When you recognize that we're all connected, life takes on new meaning. Your actions aren't isolated. They contribute to a larger story. Choose actions that strengthen that story. Build bridges, not walls. The lesson is simple, yet profound. Every interaction is an opportunity to either strengthen the bonds of humanity or weaken them. When you choose compassion, you're not just helping others. You're creating a better world for everyone, including yourself. In the end, the connections we nurture define the legacy we leave behind. Let those connections be rooted in kindness and purpose, because we're all part of something greater than ourselves. 17. Teach or tolerate. The Stoics believed that when dealing with others, we have two choices: teach or tolerate. People act the way they do for reasons we may not understand, often shaped by pain, fear, or ignorance. Instead of reacting with frustration or anger, the Stoics teach us to approach these situations with patience and wisdom. We can either help guide someone toward a better path or learn to accept their behavior as part of life's unpredictability. I remember a time when my brother was assigned to take care of a young boy temporarily. This boy had endured a difficult life: abuse at home, isolation at school, and a deep resentment toward the world. His pain showed in every interaction. He lashed out, refused to trust anyone, and carried a constant chip on his shoulder. At first, the boy's behavior was exhausting. He rejected kindness, misinterpreted even the smallest gestures, and acted as if everyone was out to hurt him. Many would have given up, dismissing him as too far gone. But my brother didn't see the boy's anger as something to retaliate against. He saw it as a reflection of the boy's pain, an outward sign of wounds that had yet to heal. Instead of reacting with frustration, my brother chose to teach. He showed patience, understanding, and consistency. He didn't try to lecture or fix the boy overnight. He simply modeled kindness and stability. Slowly, the boy began to open up. He started to trust. And while his transformation wasn't instant, it was real. Over time, he learned that not everyone would hurt him, and not every hand extended toward him was a threat. This experience taught me the power of choosing to teach rather than condemn. It's easy to judge others for their flaws or lash out when their actions frustrate us. But reacting with anger only adds to the cycle of negativity. When we approach others with patience and a willingness to guide, we not only help them but also grow in our own strength and wisdom. However, not every situation allows for teaching. Some people aren't ready to change or learn, no matter how much we try. In these cases, the Stoics remind us to tolerate, to accept that not everything is within our control. By letting go of the need to fix or correct others, we free ourselves from unnecessary frustration. The choice to teach or tolerate is a practical way to approach relationships and conflicts. It requires patience, discernment, and the ability to focus on what truly matters. Whether you're helping someone grow or choosing to accept them as they are, you're practicing the kind of resilience and compassion that Stoicism encourages. Remember, every interaction is an opportunity to build, not break. Choose wisely. 18. Remember you will die, so live now. Memento Mori. The Stoics embraced the concept of Memento Mori, a reminder of our mortality. They understood that life is fleeting, and the thought of death is not meant to invoke fear, but to inspire action. Recognizing that our time is limited allows us to focus on what truly matters and live each moment with purpose and gratitude. When I was 35, my mother passed away. Her life had been full of challenges, burdened by the weight of responsibilities she carried alone. Despite the hardships, she found moments of joy, and every memory I have of her is precious. I wasn't able to spend as much time with her as I would have liked, but even the smallest moments, her laugh and her resilience, are etched in my heart. Her passing was a painful reminder of life's finiteness. It woke me up to the importance of cherishing each moment and living fully, not tomorrow, but today. We often live as though we have all the time in the world. We postpone joy, connection, and even our dreams, thinking there will always be more time. But life doesn't wait. The truth is, none of us know how many days we have left. This is not a reason to despair, but a call to embrace life with urgency and intention. My mother's death taught me that regret often stems not from what we've done, but from what we didn't do. Time we didn't spend, words we didn't say, chances we didn't take. The Stoics teach us to live each day as though it were our last, not in recklessness, but in mindfulness. They urge us to focus on the present moment, to find joy in the simple things, and to act with purpose. If you've ever faced loss or felt the weight of life's impermanence, let it guide you, not paralyze you. Use it as a reminder to prioritize what matters. Spend time with loved ones. Say the words you've been holding back. Pursue the dreams you've been postponing. Don't let the fear of failure or the distractions of daily life rob you of what truly makes life meaningful. Memento Mori isn't about dwelling on death. It's about choosing to live. When you realize how precious your time is, you stop wasting it on things that don't align with your values. You let go of grudges, avoid unnecessary stress, and focus on creating moments that matter. Time is our most precious resource, and how we use it defines the quality of our lives. The Stoics teach us to approach each moment with mindfulness, to live intentionally, and to align our actions with our values. Life's impermanence is a teacher, reminding us to let go of trivial concerns and focus on what truly matters: our relationships, our growth, and the impact we leave behind. Death is not a tragedy to fear, but a natural part of existence that urges us to live with purpose and clarity. 19. Don't fear death, fear a life not lived. The Stoics viewed death not as something to be feared, but as an essential part of life. To them, fear of death is not the enemy. The true enemy is a life spent avoiding risk, growth, and purpose. They believe that when we let the inevitability of death guide us, we're inspired to live with more meaning, intention, and courage. Many people avoid thinking about death, believing it to be a dark or morbid subject. But by ignoring it, they also ignore the urgency it brings to our existence. Imagine living a life where you're constantly waiting for the right time to pursue a dream, to repair a relationship, or to start a new chapter. The days pass, and suddenly it feels too late. That's the tragedy the Stoics sought to prevent. Death isn't a punishment, it's a reminder to act while we still can. Think of the times you've hesitated to take a bold step because of fear. Fear of failure, judgment, or uncertainty. Each of those fears pulls us away from living fully. But when you confront death, you realize that these smaller fears pale in comparison to the regret of a life left unlived. For the Stoics, living fully doesn't mean constant excitement or grand achievements. It means living in alignment with your values and seizing each day with presence and purpose. It means doing the things that matter to you, even if they scare you. It's about asking, if today were my last, would I be proud of how I lived it? Consider the example of someone who dreams of starting their own business but never takes the leap because they fear failure. Each year they tell themselves they'll start next year. But the years pass, and the dream remains just that, a dream. When they finally realize how little time is left, the regret weighs heavier than the fear ever did. This lesson applies to every aspect of life. It's the phone call to a loved one you've been putting off. It's the creative project you've been afraid to start. It's the adventure you've postponed for a better time. When you remember that time is finite, you see these moments for what they are, opportunities slipping away. The Stoics teach us to use the awareness of death as a motivator, not a source of fear. Embrace it as a guide that keeps you focused on living boldly and authentically. Don't wait for a perfect moment. It doesn't exist. The only moment you truly have is now. When you stop fearing death, you start prioritizing what truly matters. You live with purpose, unshackled by trivial concerns, and focused on creating a life you'll look back on with pride. In the end, it's not death we should fear, but the regret of never having truly lived. 20. It's not about length, it's about depth. The Stoics remind us that the value of life is not measured by its length, but by its depth. It's not about how many years you live, but how much meaning you create during the time you have. A life filled with purpose, connection, and contribution leaves a legacy far greater than one that simply stretches on without direction. Imagine someone who lives to be 100 years old, but spends most of that time disconnected, chasing shallow pleasures or avoiding challenges. Compare that to someone who lives only 50 years, yet fills those decades with kindness, meaningful work, and acts of service. The latter life, though shorter, resonates deeply with those it touches. The impact we leave behind defines the true measure of our existence. This is a concept the Stoics emphasized. Life's quality outweighs its quantity. They believed in creating value, not just for themselves, but for the community. Your words, actions, and contributions can ripple outward, affecting others in ways you may never witness. Each day offers an opportunity to live with purpose, to do something that matters, and to build something meaningful that endures. Think about the people you admire most. Their lives are likely defined not by how long they lived, but by what they did with their time. It might be an artist who left behind timeless creations, a teacher who inspired generations, or a neighbor who always lent a helping hand. These are the people who remind us that life's depth is what gives it significance. Consider this. You don't have to change the entire world to make your life meaningful. Start small. Volunteer at a local charity, mentor someone who's struggling, or create something that brings joy to others. Even seemingly minor actions can have profound effects when done with intention and heart. When you focus on creating value, you shift your perspective. You stop worrying about trivial concerns and start prioritizing what truly matters. The Stoics encourage us to act with virtue and to live each day as if it were a complete life in itself. This means embracing every moment as an opportunity to make an impact, whether it's in the way you treat others, the effort you put into your work, or the time you invest in nurturing relationships. For those who feel stuck or unsure about their purpose, the key is to start where you are. Look for ways to contribute to the world around you, however small they may seem. Over time, these actions accumulate, creating a life rich with meaning and significance. The lesson is clear. Life's worth isn't determined by how long it lasts, but by what you choose to do with it. Focus on depth rather than length. Live with purpose, act with intention, and leave behind something that reflects the best of who you are. In the end, it's not the number of years that defines a life well lived. It's the legacy you create for others to remember. As we reflect on the timeless lessons of Stoic philosophy, one truth becomes clear. A life of meaning and resilience is built through daily practice. Each idea we've explored, whether mastering your mind, embracing obstacles, or living with the awareness of life's impermanence, offers a path to greater strength and peace. These lessons are not abstract ideals. They are tools you can use to shape your thoughts, guide your actions, and transform your life. Stoicism teaches us that our greatest power lies within, the power to control how we respond to the world around us. By focusing on what we can change, letting go of what we cannot, and acting with purpose and integrity, we create lives filled with depth and significance. Each small, intentional step brings us closer to the calm and clarity we seek. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight. The key to growth is consistency. Practice the principles we've discussed daily. Reflect on your actions, question your assumptions, and align your decisions with your values. Whether it's taking a moment to pause before reacting, choosing kindness in the face of frustration, or embracing a challenge rather than resisting it, each act of mindfulness strengthens your resolve. As you embark on this journey, know that you're not alone. The lessons of the Stoics have guided countless individuals through life's challenges, and they can guide you too. Share your story with us in the comments below. How are you practicing these principles in your life? What challenges are you overcoming? If you found value in these lessons, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official. Together, we continue exploring these profound ideas and learning from one another. Let this be the start of a life lived with courage, wisdom, and purpose. One small, intentional choice at a time. The journey